Today we're going to be making a classic steakhouse dinner, but with a couple of fun twists. So let's get started. First things first, we're going to take our steak out of the fridge, pat it completely dry, season with salt, and let it sit for about 30 to 45 minutes. You can kind of press the salt in lightly. Once it's salted, we're gonna let this sit for about 30 to 45 minutes on the countertop. This is going to allow the steak to come closer to room temperature, which will give us an even cook throughout. If you were to cook like a cold steak right out of the refrigerator, it's going to be burnt on the outside and completely cold on the middle. So you just wanna let it come to like a more even temperature throughout. All right, so while the steak is resting, we're gonna go ahead and get started on some baked potatoes. But instead of just like the regular traditional baked potato, I thought it'd be fun to do a Hasselback potato. We're going to completely wash the outside of our potato just with water and kind of scrub it, scrub off any dirt, any like gross little bits that you don't want to eat, and pat dry. So let's do that. For the Hasselback potato, you want to cut off like a very thin piece on the bottom, not too much, but just something that will give you like a flat surface. So we'll go ahead and do that to both potatoes. You could throw these on the baking tray as well, or get rid of it, that's up to you. Then you'll want to find like two identical utensils. Could be maybe like 2 forks, or if you have chopsticks. I'm just using 2 of these little spatulas and place them on either side of the potato. Just anything really that's gonna prevent you from cutting all the way through. So when we cut, it's going to be stopped by these spatulas. And then you're just gonna go and make little slits all throughout the potato. Oh, don't do that. You want to make sure you cut straight down and not at an angle. That way you won't cut off any of the slivers like I just did. And here you are, you're left with this beautiful cut potato that we are going to shove a bunch of butter and chives and garlic and all sorts of goodness into. So let me do this potato and then we will get into that. This one turned out perfect. Look at that. Cool. Next, I'm gonna just grab a small baking dish that I have and place our potatoes on here. And then we're just gonna season them with olive oil, salt, and pepper, and then kind of rub the seasonings in. And then we'll pop this into the oven at 400 degrees for probably about like 40 minutes. There's my oven at 400 degrees, so let's season these and then put them in to roast for a little bit. So while the potatoes are cooking, we're gonna go ahead and get started on some lemon asparagus. So I just have my big bunch of asparagus here, and we are going to go ahead and cut maybe like 2 to 3 inches off of the bottom, like that. And we'll grab a baking dish, spread out our asparagus on here. So we will go ahead and season this with olive oil, salt, pepper, and a bunch of lemon juice. Mix this up here. Make sure that everything is nice and coated. We're gonna eventually put this in the oven for about 12 to 15 minutes on 400 degrees Fahrenheit, but I'm not quite ready for that yet, so we're just gonna place it right here behind us. Now we're gonna make some garlic and herb butter to put in each slot of the Hasselback potatoes. I'm gonna use about 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter, chives, garlic powder, salt and pepper, and also fresh garlic. And so let's do that. Next, I got some fresh garlic. I don't really know why they put it in this little bag. We'll just do maybe like 4 small cloves. Yep, that's good. Okay, so my butter is still pretty firm, so we're just gonna set this aside and let it kind of soften before we try to mix it all up. Next, we're gonna move on to the Caesar salad. So I have 1 full head of romaine lettuce that we are just going to chop up, remove the stem, and chop it into like 1-inch pieces, is what I like. And then I go once down the middle. We're gonna put this into our salad spinner and make sure that it's completely washed and there's no remaining like dirt or germs on it. Once it's been washed, we're just gonna put our lettuce into this bowl here. And I like to add red onion to my Caesar salad. I feel like it just gives it like a fresh little tang. So we're gonna chop up red onion. Cut that, like that much. And for this, we want to go like very thin slices. You want to tuck your fingers under and hold your knife like this so you have a lot of control. And just go slow. It's not a race. You don't have to be a professional chef to do this. Just nice thin cuts. Be careful of your fingers. And we'll just toss this right on top of the romaine. You kind of want to break up the pieces so it's easy to mix around. Next, we're gonna grate some fresh Parmesan cheese on top. Really just go to town here. I'm actually gonna wait to put the dressing on till the very last second so that it doesn't get soggy. So in the meantime, I'm just gonna pop some plastic wrap over this and put it in the fridge. Our steaks have been resting for about 30 minutes and you can see that the salt has pulled out a ton of extra moisture. So we're gonna wanna go in and just pat completely dry once again. Just go ahead and pat it like this. You wanna make sure you do both sides. And then like that. I'm gonna be cooking my steak on a stainless steel pan. We got that preheating on very high for about 3 minutes. And I just grabbed some garlic, rosemary, and butter to finish the steak off. We'll place that here. Let our pan heat up a bit. There's a trick you can do with stainless steel. See if it's ready. You just want a little droplet of water. And once the beads of water start rolling around, that's how you know it's ready. I'm gonna be using like the smallest little bit of ghee just to coat the bottom of my pan so that the steak doesn't stick to it. And I'm using ghee because it has a very high smoke point compared to like butter. If you were to put it in, it would probably burn instantly. So with ghee, we just line the bottom of the pan and then we'll grab our steaks and press them firmly down. For about 4 minutes on either side. All right, so while the steak is cooking, we're actually just going to mix up that herby butter for the Hasselback potatoes, something like that. It's been about 4 minutes, so we're gonna flip over these steaks and do about 3 minutes on this side before we add in the butter and the garlic and rosemary. So we're gonna add in our butter, bunch of garlic, rosemary stems. And then to baste it, you really just take the butter and the garlic kind of just throw it on top here. You can add more butter, of course, but we just try to keep it kind of light during the week. So now we're just gonna take the steak off of the heat. And we'll bring all of this goodness with it. I'm just gonna let this sit for at least 10 minutes. Now it's time to pull the potatoes out of the oven. They look like this. I'm gonna take our butter and one of the spatulas that we used earlier and just kind of coat the potato and all of that. And you really just want to get like in these little slivers. Ooh, it looks so good and it smells so good. Now we're just gonna pop this back into the oven for maybe like 10 minutes, finish off and make sure that it gets super crispy and crunchy. Right, and at the same time, we're also gonna cook our asparagus for like 12 to 15 minutes. The last step before we get to eat is to dress our Caesar salad. I personally love this dressing from Primal Kitchen. It is the Caesar dressing and marinade made with avocado oil. It is the best Caesar dressing I've ever had, even better than homemade. So I definitely recommend you guys to try this one out. Pop some of this on top. That was a lot. Mix around our salad. Guys, I am clearly not a chef, but I make good food, so that looks so good. Love Caesar salad. Let's cut into the steak and see how it turned out. Ooh, that is absolutely perfect. Now for the fun part, which is plating the food. We're gonna put our steak like over here on this side. Plate with this little rosemary, a bit of crushed up garlic. Pop one of these potatoes on. My personal favorite, which is the asparagus. Last thing we're gonna do is dress the potato up a little bit with some sour cream and chop this on here. Oh, I wish I had green onion. All right, so this is how it turned out. Thank you guys so much for watching, and please remember to comment, like, and subscribe for more of these videos.